Is a disturbing development creeping up in Ghana, and every well-meaning Ghanaian will have to sit up and grant me your attention for just a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. A man born in Nigeria who settled in Ghana some decades ago and over time became well-respected leader among his tribesmen has now set up a kingdom for himself in our country, ladies and gentlemen. He is an Igbo man bearing the title Eze Chukudi Ihenetu. I hope I'm saying it right. He has the title Eze in the Igbo Ghana, which translates King of Igbo people in Ghana. His tribesmen in Ghana crowned him this position and the title in 2012. And these are his images, ladies and gentlemen. A very fine gentleman whom we are told is married to a Ghanaian. And as a typical Ghanaian, ladies and gentlemen, I have no problem with that at all. But many people, including myself, will have a problem with anyone or any situation that has the potential to undermine our sovereignty as a republic. What has made our country livable for all people for many years is our hospitality towards one another and to foreigners, ladies and gentlemen. And that cannot be circumvented by any external tribe nor group of people. Ghana has a common chieftaincy practice of installing foreigners as development chiefs for the purpose of providing value to our local communities. This is a typical thing in Ghana. And hence, I thought what this man and his tribesmen were doing was something in line of that. Until, ladies and gentlemen, I read from an internet publication that they, and I mean the Igbo people, or he as a king in Ghana, has acquired acres of lands to build an Igbo town and establish an Igbo kingdom within Ghana. This is where I became disturbed, even though I'm yet to see any substantive evidence for this acquisition. That would be totally unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Fellow Ghanaians, I want to believe this is a falsified story. But if not, this is not something we should entertain or allow to continue. Ghana is a sovereign country alongside our kings and our chiefs. They are called kings and chiefs for historical reasons. They have fought and protected their lands and been the source of the unity of our people till this modern era. It is not a title given out of charity, ladies and gentlemen. There is a meaning and a story behind every stool or throne in Ghana. There is a story behind every stool, land, and family lineage that authenticates the royalty of our kings and chiefs. These institutions are not to be toyed with nor replicated in any shape or form, ladies and gentlemen. People have fought and died in the protection of their clans and tribes and lands in Ghana. It used to be our system of governance before the colonizers came in and therefore should be respected whether by foreigners or locals, ladies and gentlemen. What is happening with this self-acclaimed king of Igbos in Ghana, if true, will be a direct infringement on our chieftaincy structure and the sovereignty of our country as a whole. This cannot happen in any other region outside of Accra and even in Nigeria. Can this even happen in Ashanti region, ladies and gentlemen, or any of the northern regions? In fact, this shouldn't happen in any other country and shouldn't happen for that matter in Ghana. The Igbo people of Biafra need a king and true leadership in these times of struggle for an Igbo nation. That cannot be done in a strange land. What this man is trying to do in Ghana will undermine his own people's effort for freedom from Nigeria. And I don't think his intention is to create a kingdom here in Ghana and move his people along. If he indeed has the resources and the know-how to lead his people, this is the time to stand up strong for your people in Abia and Anambra and Ebonyi and Enugu and in Imo states in Nigeria. Biafra is at crossroads with the federal government of Nigeria, and we as Ghanaians don't want to meddle in that. To be crowned a king is not simply by an election. It must be tied to the lineage of your family, the land of your tribe or family, the historical achievements or significance of your family name in relation to the community you lead, ladies and gentlemen. You don't just blip on the radar in a community that has its own leadership structure and annex your throne to theirs, ladies and gentlemen. That is not how it's done and doesn't make you a king nor a leader. And one reason we have to make this topical is because of how politicians relate with them. During the times of the formal government or the president, this man was seen, invited, and associated with the leadership of our country. And before the elections were held last year, he paid a visit to our current president. This is what he has used to gain for himself the popularity and the needed attention, ladies and gentlemen. But that's definitely not what Ghana needs at this time. We are not in need of more kings and chiefs, ladies and gentlemen. We have a diplomatic relationship with Nigeria, and that should be observed. The idea of our immigration officers inviting him and working with him is not going to be a healthy thing for Ghana and Nigeria's relationship in the long run. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to pay attention to all these. Nigeria has a high commissioner in Ghana. He is the representation of Nigerian government in Ghana. He is the one to be consulted or engaged on whatever the issues may be. Ladies and gentlemen, we the people of Ghana must be vigilant with the happenings in our country. We have come a long way with our differences, and that shouldn't be undermined under any circumstance. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome people from every part of Africa and the world to our country because that is who we are as a people. We are inherently peaceful people who just want to go about our business and live in peace with all men. We have what many African countries never had. We are one of the few African countries that has never experienced a civil war since independence, and we've had a stable democracy in the last 33 years. We have successfully seen the transition of political powers in that time frame, ladies and gentlemen, and we cannot be naive of the threats to these achievements. There is absolutely no need nor room for an Igbo king of Ghana or Yoruba king of Ghana or any sort of king on our land. How does it even work, ladies and gentlemen? Does it mean we won't have to resort to him when an Igbo person is at loggerheads with our laws or not? That cannot be, because no Nigerian travels to Ghana or to any country on a passport issued by an Igbo state. It is Nigeria we deal with and should remain so until there is a country called Igbo. Nigeria is a friend and a strategic partner of Ghana, and that is how far it should go. A similar thing was happening in the Adan area in the Greater Accra region when a group of Lebanese people bought lands and wanted to build a Lebanese community that will prohibit Ghanaians from accessing, ladies and gentlemen. They likewise wanted a town and a system for themselves within Ghana. Could that ever happen in Lebanon or in Nigeria for Ghanaians under any circumstance? Ladies and gentlemen, let's be guided and not be naive. What then becomes of our originality should that happen on our soil? It is true that historically the Ga tribe originated from an Igbo community in Nigeria, but those who actually migrated left for a reason and chose to stay and not return. They have since then installed their own kings and chiefs at this point and contributed significantly to our nation's building. The Ga tribe in Ghana live a completely different reality from the Igbos in Nigeria. Don't let the few overlapping cultural similarities confuse you. They've moved on, and we should leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Ghana has its own problems to deal with. Let everyone go and deal with their problems in their individual countries. Our chieftaincy problems are already a headache for us. We don't need more. And this is my message to the Igbo king in Ghana. Oga, we have welcomed you with an open arm and made your stay comfortable in Ghana. We have given you a home away from your home, something that should be respected. Don't start anything that will ruin this situation. I'm told you are a generous man who has helped many of our people in the community you live, and that's totally welcome, Oga. And I understand you are doing this for the interest of your tribesmen in Ghana. That is totally welcome. But please be reminded and be guided that Ghana is not a designation for your kingdom. That will be in Nigeria. You are at liberty to live within the confines of our laws and borders for as long as you would want. But that should be it, Oga. Our politicians may make promises to you and grant you access to certain high-profile meetings in the country, but we the people will see you for the foreigner that you are. As it stands now, there is no indication in any official government publication or credible Ghanaian website or media that suggests that your stool has been gazetted in Ghana. Let's leave it at that, Oga, and let's allow for Ghana to continue to live in the peace that we have. Thank you for watching, and hope this video finds its way to him, and hope to catch you in the next one. If today is your first time here, make today the day you subscribe to support this cause. God bless Ghana and all that dwell within. It's bye-bye for now.